But right now, we're going to go through my Eastern Conference projected rankings. But before we get into that, I have a little trivia question for you guys. Who was the last team in the Eastern Conference to win 60 games? I'll give you one hint. LeBron James was not on the team. That's the only hint you're going to get. So comment, don't use Google, don't cheat. Let me know what team it was and what year they did it. Again, it was not a LeBron James team. Who was the last team in the Eastern Conference to win 60 games in one season? So without further ado, let's get into my Eastern Conference projected rankings. Let's start at number 15 with the Orlando Magic. Holy crap, the Orlando Magic are going to be really, really bad. Like, really bad. Like, worst team in the NBA levels of bad. I have their projected record at 22-60. God, this team is going to be... If you have NBA League Pass like I do, never watch the Magic. Though I will say this. Jonathan Isaac, Aaron Gordon, and Mo Bamba, that lineup is going to be really, really fun. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's going to be a lot of fun to watch at least. I mean, if you're a Magic fan, at least you have something entertaining to watch this year. But this team is going to lose a lot of games. They just are. They don't have a lot of talent. Their backcourt is a mess. DJ Augustin is starting at point guard, guys. DJ Augustin, who is an okay NBA player in general, but he should not be starting for an NBA team right now. Evan Fournier, I think, is one of the more overrated players in the NBA. I like Jonathan Simmons. Good for him being able to get some money. He was a Spurs kind of backup for a while there. Last year was his first year starting. He actually did a pretty good job. We'll see what Aaron Gordon can do now that he's on a max contract. And then Mo Bamba will most likely take over the starting spot at center. But look, we'll see what happens. I mean, the worst record in the NBA the past couple years has been changing, ever changing. And we actually haven't had back-to-back worst teams in the NBA for a very long time. Milwaukee in 2014, Minnesota in 2015, Sixers in 2016, Nets in 2017, and the Phoenix Suns last year. So my pick for the worst team in the NBA this year is going to be the Orlando Magic with a record of 22-60. This team is bad, guys. This team is not going to win a lot of games. I'd be surprised. I'd be stunned. I'd be absolutely stunned if this team made it to 25 wins. 25. Can you imagine? Can you imagine not even being able to make it to 25 wins in the modern NBA? That's absolutely wild. So we asked you guys a question beforehand, gave you guys a little bit of time to answer and to think. You guys did a good job. We had a couple correct answers, couple wrong answers. So I'll go through the wrong ones. We had Indiana in 2014. That's not right. Pistons in 2012. That's not right as well. The Raptors last year. That is incorrect as well. The correct answer, one of my favorite basketball teams of all time, the 2014-2015 Hawks. Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Jeff Teague, Kyle Korver. You had Ken Bazemore on that team as well. So the 2014-2015 Hawks were the correct answer for the last team in the East to win 50 games. The Raptors did not make it last year. They almost had it, but did not quite hit that 60-win mark, though there will be a team in the East that hits 60 wins this year. We'll get to them a little bit later. Let's talk about the Hawks. They come in at number 14 on our Eastern Conference projected rankings. Another team that's going to be really bad this year, but at least they're going to be exciting to watch because they have Trae Young, they have John Collins, they have Kevin Huerter. Omari Spellman's going to be a nice guy to watch. They picked up Alex Len from the Suns. So they have a couple nice young pieces on this team. Actually, slice out Alex Len from that list because Alex Len's actually really bad. He really can't do anything well. Sorry, Cam. I know you're a Maryland guy, but he's not very good. Unfortunately, the rest of this team isn't very good. I mean, the best scoring player on the Hawks last year was Taurean Prince. And that's all you really need to know about where the Hawks were last year. But they have Trae Young this year. They picked up Jeremy Lin. They haven't traded Kent Bazemore. Dennis Schroeder is out of town. They sent him to Oklahoma City. We did have the brief stint of Carmelo playing for the Atlanta Hawks. That was a lot of fun, but obviously that didn't last very long. So John Collins this year is the guy to watch for the Atlanta Hawks. Absolutely. John Collins is the best player on this team right now. Trae Young, I've said it before on earlier shows, and I'm going to say it again. Trae Young is going to have a very poor rookie season. In fact, I don't think that Trae Young is going to be a very good rookie or sophomore player in the NBA. I think it's going to take Trae Young time to get good in the NBA. If I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. But if Trae Young plays like he did at Oklahoma in the NBA, he's going to struggle a lot. He's going to have a lot of issues handling defenses. He's going to have a lot of issues playing defense himself. So for me overall, I think that this team is going to run through John Collins, best player on the team right now, second-year guy out of Wake Forest. He's going to be fantastic. I think, bold prediction, John Collins is going to be a candidate for an all-star team this year on the Eastern Conference. Straight up. He's going to have a really good season. He might average like 19-7 this year on this team. Someone has to score, and John Collins has the most talent. So I think it'll be John Collins. Let me know, though. We have a fun little weigh-in up for you guys. Will the Hawks win 30 games this season? 30 games this season. Give me an A for yes. Give me an H for no. I'm throwing up an H. No way. I would... This team would be lucky to win 25 games, just like the Magic. 30, I think, is a little bit too high. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about the Atlanta Hawks. Let's jump to the Brooklyn Nets. One of my favorite bad teams in the NBA, simply because they have a lot of fun talent on this team. It's all really young and kind of stops after Jared Allen. So they have D'Angelo Russell. They have Spencer Dinwiddie, who's going to eventually get traded. I like Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. I think he's actually become a really interesting player in the NBA. But they have Jared Allen also at center, and then after that, it just kind of goes off a cliff. Now, they drafted John Musa, the Nets' first, well, actually, it's not the Nets' first-round draft pick. Jared Allen was that last year. But this is a big season for the Nets because they are officially out of the Boston Celtics trade. They officially have all of their first-round picks back. This is the first year that the Nets will have a first-round pick since, 2014? Absolutely just wild stuff for the Brooklyn Nets. One of the worst managed teams in the NBA. The victims of the worst trade in the history of basketball. But this is a make-or-break season for D'Angelo Russell. First and foremost. I mean, Jared Allen's going to have a nice season progressing. Allen Crabbe is going to do Allen Crabbe things. They bring in Ed Davis, though he's not very good. Again, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson is a nice player. But D'Angelo Russell, they brought him in to be their superstar. And he just still can't quite get there, whether it's injuries or work ethic or something. I mean, this is a contract year for D'Angelo Russell. So if there was ever a season, there was ever a year that D'Angelo Russell was actually going to show up and show out, this would probably be it, right? I mean, you just saw his best friend Devin Booker get $150 million. You have to think that that's going to light a fire under his ass. Though if they don't get D'Angelo Russell going, I would not be surprised if he's shipped out at the trade deadline. They really just cannot wait for him to get good. My projected record for the Nets, 26-56. I see Ivan Cardenas says that the Nets are going to be 37-45. What? You think this Nets team is going 37 games? What? All right, man. Do you, homie. I don't even think they're going to make it to 30, let alone 35, let alone 37. That's a lot of wins for a Nets team that doesn't have a lot of talent on it, though I really do like their front office. I think they're rebuilding in the correct way. We'll see what they do with a first-round pick, likely a top 5 first-round pick next season. All right, let's go to our next team. Let's stay in New York. It's the Knicks. I was originally higher on the Knicks, but I've come down to earth just because I realized that Dave Fizdale, despite the fact that I think he's a great coach, this Knicks team just does not have a lot of talent on it with Kristaps out. Now, Kevin Knox is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to see a roller coaster of a season for Kevin Knox. One night, he's going to be dropping 31 points in Madison Square Garden. The next night, he's going to be shooting 2 of 15, on the road in Memphis or something. Like, Kevin Knox is going to have a roller coaster of a season. He's going to have a great couple months. He's going to hit a rookie wall like nobody's business. There's just no way that Kevin Knox is going to be instantly amazing right off the bat. Now, Kristaps will probably come back around December, probably closer to January. I think they're going to take it really slow with him. But, outside of that, they just don't have a lot of talent on this team. Trey Burke, Courtney Lee, I like Tim Hardaway Jr. Cantor's a nice player as well. But they just don't have a lot of elite talent on this team. They do have a lot of young players, but this Knicks team is going to lose a lot of games. Mitchell Robinson is going to be fun to see this year. Mario Hezonja is coming over to play with the Knicks this year. He's been a Knicks fan his entire life, so it'll be cool to see him out there. A lot of interesting young players, and of course, Frankie Smokes, another year of progression for him. But overall, man, this Knicks team, they're bad. Especially with Kristaps out. He was an MVP candidate last year before he went down with that torn ACL. So a 7-footer coming back from a torn ACL injury, it's going to take a while. We'll see what happens. By the way, Kevin Gonzalez is saying that Kevin Knox is going to start. He may very well start. But we're not really sure at this point. I can totally see Dave Fizdale starting Tim Hardaway Jr. and Courtney Lee over him as they continue to get Kevin Knox more and more reps on the offensive side of the ball. We really don't know. I mean, a lot of these starting lineups are going to be completely different by the first game of the season. So number 12 seed for the New York Knicks. Let's go to number 11, Chicago Bulls. We have a huge Bulls following in our YouTube comments who constantly hate on me whenever I don't say that the Bulls are going to make the playoffs this year. Stop trying to talk me into the Bulls being, a possible playoff team. They're not. They're going to go 30-52. They might win 30 games, mostly because I don't like Fred Hoiberg. I really don't. I don't think he's that good of a head coach. I think he's massively, massively over his head at the NBA level. I mean, he was a good coach at Iowa State, but outside of that, he looks totally out of sorts the past couple of years with the Bulls. But they have a lot of young talent. Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Chandler Hutchison, Wendell Carter Jr., Lauri Markkanen, Bobby Portis, Jerry Grant. This team has a lot of good young talent on it. The problem is that good young talent in the NBA without a superstar doesn't equal wins. Like, if you put LeBron James on this team, this is absolutely a playoff team. Just like how you put LeBron James on the Lakers, they're a playoff team. But this team doesn't have a LeBron James. And Zach LaVine, until he starts playing defense, is not considered a star player to me. He's a name player because he can dunk, but Zach LaVine is not a star player by any means. Just because you can score doesn't mean you're a star player. You got to be able to do more things than just score. I mean, is Tyreek Evans a star player in the NBA? No, because all he does is score. So Chicago Bulls, about 30 wins for me. I know Jabari Parker got brought in by the Bulls as well, but come on, guys. We've seen what Jabari Parker's been able to do at the NBA level the past couple of years. I think he's going to end up getting traded. Let's go to number 10. I think I might be a little bit too high on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I have them coming in at number 10 in the Eastern Conference, going 31-51. Guys, this roster's bad. Please, please, please do not try to talk yourself into the Cleveland Cavaliers, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You are going to talk yourself into the Cleveland Cavaliers and say to yourself, you're going to go, well, it's Kevin Love's team now, right? And they have Colin Sexton, and they have all these veterans who can shoot. Stop. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be very, very bad this year. Very, very bad. They just don't have talent. They have Sexton and Kevin Love. That's it. Larry Nance Jr., he's a nice player. He's a good bench guy. But I wouldn't say that he's some overarching elite talent that they have coming in. Did we see Jordan Clarkson in the finals? Did we see Kyle Korver in the finals? There's so many players on this team who are just complete disasters in terms of their contract to their age. So I'm not a huge Cavs guy. I think that this team is going to miss the playoffs. I think this team is going to have maybe a top 10 pick in the lottery this year. This is going to be a bad team. And what's even worse for this Cavs team, they have no one to trade. They're not going to be able to get anything back for George Hill. They're not going to be able to get anything back for a Tristan Thompson or a J.R. Smith. So the only guy they have to trade on this team, like I mentioned before, is Rodney Hood. Which, I mean, how great of a trade chip really is Rodney Hood if he's not playing, 100% basketball, if he's not putting up 60 points per game like he did for the Utah Jazz. So watch out for the Cavs to be one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. Let me know in the comment section below if you think the Cavs will make it to the playoffs with LeBron gone. The Cavaliers actually are tied for the second lowest odds to win the Eastern Conference at 100-1 odds. They have 100-1 odds to win the Eastern Conference this year. This team is bad. This team is an absolute disaster. Let's go to a team that won't be as much of a disaster. Let's go to the Charlotte Hornets, who they're not going to win a lot of games, but going 35-47 in the Eastern Conference is good enough to keep you in playoff contention. Wow, that's a really funny statement. But they have Kemba Walker, who, out of any player probably in the bottom half of the Eastern Conference, he's definitely the best player. I mean, he's definitely the best player of any non-playoff team in the Eastern Conference. Like, give me Kemba Walker over Kevin Love any day of the week and twice on Thursday. Like, there's just no way that you will ever convince me that Kevin Love is a better NBA player than Kemba Walker. He's just not. But overall, this Hornets team, they actually have a decent amount of talent on it. And if James Borrego, the new coach coming in from the San Antonio Spurs, can actually get the most out of this talent, they could end up winning 40 games. They could. Kemba Walker, obviously one of the better point guards in the NBA. Nicholas Batum I like a lot. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist has changed his game. He's turned into a nice NBA player. Cody Zeller's going to get the starting job full-time. Marvin Williams is an okay player. Their bench is pretty good. Tony Parker, Malik Monk, Dwayne Bacon had a good year last year. They draft Miles Bridges in the first round. So Hornets team's not bad. They're not awful. It's just they don't have a lot of elite talent after Kemba Walker. And also, speaking of Kemba Walker, when are the Hornets going to pay him? Like, I figured it would have already happened, but they just haven't given him a new extension yet. So he's going into this season without a new contract going into next year. And the Hornets are risking losing their best player in free agency. Trust me, a lot of teams are going to be going after Kemba Walker next offseason if he's a free agent. A lot of teams, i.e. the Phoenix Suns, who are probably waiting for him to hit a free agency instead of trading for him. So the Hornets got to get Kemba Walker under wraps really soon. He is an underrated player in the NBA. Ivan Cardonas, who has disagreed with every single thing I've said so far in this show, says that Kemba is an overrated point guard, saying he's not a difference maker and can't bring any team to success. That is not true at all. That is not true. The only reason the Hornets aren't a 20-win team is because Kemba Walker is on them, and he's absolutely a difference maker. You, sir, need to watch more Kemba Walker because that statement is just factually incorrect. But a statement that's factually correct is how BetDSI is the best betting site anywhere on the internet. Head to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code LIVE120 to get a 120% deposit bonus. You can bet on any of these teams to win the Eastern Conference. Obviously, you shouldn't bet on the Charlotte Hornets, so go ahead if you feel so inclined. But as we get into our playoff teams, make sure to use BetDSI this year when you are making your NBA future bets this year. And of course, once NBA games start as well, Live120, use that promo code chatsports.com/bet. All right, let's get into my Eastern Conference playoff teams. The Miami Heat. At 38-44, because son of a bitch, someone has to make the playoffs. Seriously, someone in this conference has to make the playoffs. They all can't be bad. Someone has to get there, and the Miami Heat are going to do it. We might have 3 teams in the East this year who make the playoffs with an under 500 record. That is so unbelievably upsetting. 38-44, my projected record for the Miami Heat. Maybe Dwayne Wade comes back and makes this team remotely interesting. But as of right now, this Heat team, without a question, gets the Harris Rubenstein stamp of the most uninteresting, non-bad team in the NBA. This is the most boring roster I've ever seen. Goran Dragic, Hassan Whiteside, or I guess the ghost of Hassan Whiteside, James Johnson. Every single player on this team is overpaid. Every one of them. Whiteside's overpaid. Johnson's overpaid. Josh Richardson's overpaid. Goran Dragic is overpaid. Tyler Johnson, Kelly Olynyk. Everyone on this team is overpaid. And the only 2 interesting players on this team are Bam Adebayo and Justice Winslow, and they're not even starting. I don't even want to talk about the Heat anymore. Let's go to number 7. This team is so boring. Let's go to number 7. The Detroit Pistons. Another team who could end up having a below 500 record and still somehow make the playoffs. Though I'll give the Pistons the benefit of the doubt. I'll give it to them. Just because Dwayne Casey's coming in off winning Coach of the Year, which at some point has to equal some sort of wins. Andre Drummond, Blake Griffin, full season together. Hope to God that Blake Griffin decides his basketball career is more important than his comedy career. But the biggest issue with the Pistons is that the rest of the team is bad. Like, they're just bad. It's Andre Drummond, Blake Griffin, and then nobody else. And if you even open your mouth to try to tell me that Reggie Jackson is a good NBA player, get out of my show. Reggie Jackson is not good. Reggie Jackson has proven multiple times over that he is not a good NBA player. Luke Kennard was a weird draft pick. Stanley Johnson has not turned into the NBA player that they needed him to. Their bench is super weird. Ish Smith, Jameer Nelson is still on this team somehow. This whole team is made up of a bunch of dudes who aren't very good, who are getting paid to be very good, i.e. Reggie Jackson, who might be the best example of one of the most overpaid players in the NBA. But with Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, they are already one of the most talented teams in the NBA. In the Eastern Conference. They have 2 top 10 players at their position, and at that point, that's all that really matters. So I think the Pistons are going to be a playoff team this year just because, Drummond and Griffin is a better 2-player combo than any of the teams under them. Plus, they have a really good head coach in Dwayne Casey. So Detroit coming in at number 7. Let's go to number 6. The Wizards. Just because, again, there aren't many teams who are worse than the Washington Wizards. I guess there are a lot of teams that are worse than the Washington Wizards, but this is probably the best roster that John Wall has had, which isn't really saying much, seeing as the second, they still have Bradley Beal, who I like a lot. Bradley Beal, one of my favorite players in the NBA, but Otto Porter Jr., again, falls under the category of wildly overpaid. They're bringing in Dwight Howard, who the hell knows what you're getting with Dwight Howard? Seriously, you have no clue what you're getting. Sure, it's inspiring that he seems like he's excited to play for this team, but as we've seen with Dwight Howard in the past, that is not a very inspiring thing at all, because Dwight Howard is one of the great locker room cancers in the history of the NBA. He's up there with Wilt Chamberlain, guys. Like, Dwight Howard is maybe top 5 locker room cancers in the history of basketball. Their bench is okay. I like Kelly Oubre Jr. and I like Troy Brown, but they just don't have a lot of scoring on this team. And I think overall, this Wizards team, you're going to see as the year goes on that their lack of depth is going to hurt them again, because that's been their issue every single year in the playoffs, is that they have no depth and no one can come off the bench and score for them. Maybe Troy Brown can bring something a little bit different, but I highly doubt it. So maybe the last season of this group, guys, if they don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, do you trade John Wall? I don't know. Maybe you do. Let's go to number 5. I like the Indiana Pacers a lot this year. They improved their roster. They improved their bench. They have their star in Victor Oladipo. They have a good young head coach in Nate McMillan. And I think they're a sneaky pick for the Eastern Conference Finals. I really do. They were 1 game away from taking down LeBron James in the first round of the East playoffs last year. And this team got better. I just think that the top-end teams in the East are still better than they are, but this is a very complete and very deep roster. Darren Collison at point guard, backed up by Corey Joseph. Victor Oladipo starting at shooting guard, backed up by Tyreek Evans. They bring in Doug McDermott to back up there at small forward. They still have Thaddeus Young. Miles Turner seems to be in quote-unquote the best shape of his life. He's backed up by Domantas Sabonis. They have a lot of really good players on this team. They have one elite talent in Victor Oladipo, and then a very good roster, very well-rounded roster around him. Good defensively, good offensively as well, and a good head coach. I think this Pacers team could surprise some people this year. I think they could end up being a top 3 seed in the East if the 76ers do fall off a little bit. But for now, I'm going to keep them at 5, simply because the team at number 4 in the Milwaukee Bucks that I have, they got Giannis. And I just think at the end of the day, a team with Giannis is just going to be better than a team with Victor Oladipo. But we'll get to the Bucks in a second. But first, go to comfortable.af right now. Take a second, type in comfortable.af, and get yourself a Miz in a Main shirt so you can be as comfortable and as happy as I am right now. Head there right now, comfortable.af, for the most comfortable dress shirt you will find anywhere. Not just on the internet, anywhere. Most comfortable dress shirt. It's absolutely wild. Let's go to number 4. I said the Milwaukee Bucks are number 4. I have the same record, 47-35 for the Bucks as I do the Pacers. I think the Bucks will end up winning the tiebreaker over them and getting the number 4 seed. If you're wondering and you're freaking out, oh, they have the same record. Like, teams in the West had the same record last year in the playoffs. This is something that happens pretty commonly in the NBA, so have no fear. I am here to take you through, all of your issues. But this Milwaukee Bucks team actually looks pretty good this year. I like their roster. Their roster was really good last year. Bledsoe, Brogdon, Middleton, Giannis. People yelling at me that Brook Lopez is going to end up starting for this Bucks team. I don't think so. I think Brook Lopez, as we saw last year, is a little bit over the hill. They're not paying John Henson $11 million to come off the bench. All right, Brook Lopez is getting paid $4 million. We'll see how much Brook Lopez plays this year. Maybe he'll start when John Henson's injured, but if you start Brook Lopez, congratulations, you've just lost all of your rim protection. He is one of the worst defensive centers in the NBA, and that's not something that the Bucks can sacrifice right now. So let me know in the comment section below. Who do you think is better? Give me a P for the Pacers. Give me a B for the Bucks. I also put the Bucks ahead of the Pacers because I think that Mike Budenholzer coming in is fantastic for this team. He's the perfect coach for the Milwaukee Bucks. He's going to do wonders for Chris Middleton. He's going to do great things for Giannis. I think he's actually going to be able to get something out of Thon Maker as well. So watch out for the Bucks. Not to mention, they have a lot of medium tier players on this team and a couple good future picks. Watch out for the Bucks making a big time trade at the deadline this year. If the Timberwolves are bad, you could see a Milwaukee Bucks Jimmy Butler trade this year. We'll get to that next show, but for now, just keep an eye out and let me know in the comment section below who you guys think is better between the Pacers and the Bucks. The difference in separation between the two, by the way, is not a lot. And number 3, I got the Philadelphia 76ers. One more thing quickly. Kevin Johnson just mentioned that Giannis needs to live up to the hype. He did. He was one of the 5 best players in basketball last year. He was incredible. Moving on, the 76ers. I was so excited for them going into this offseason because I really thought they had a chance to become one of the 5 best teams in all of basketball. But they completely botched this offseason. They didn't get LeBron. They didn't get Kawhi. They didn't get Paul George. The best player that they added this summer was Wilson Chandler. That's not great, guys. That's not what you're looking for, especially for a 76ers team who needs a 3rd star in order to be considered one of the 5 best teams in the NBA. They're not there yet. And I also want to point this out about the 76ers. They massively overachieved last year. They were not supposed to be as good as they were last year. So when I see everyone saying that they're going to be the 2nd best team in the East, I don't believe it. Now, I believe they're going to win 50 games this year just because the East is so garbage. But this 76ers team is not as good as the Raptors and it's not as good as the Celtics. They're just not. They don't have the same kind of roster. They don't have the star power, nor do they have as good of a head coach as the Celtics do. I like Brett Brown. Good coach, bad GM, but he's no Brad Stevens. So for me right now, I think the 76ers are just a step below the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference. So I have them at number 3 coming in at 53-29 on their record. Let's go to number 2. Let's Toronto Raptors. Look, Kawhi's there now. And I'm buying back into the Raptors. I talked myself back into them. I know it's not good. Lena, I shouldn't have done it, but I did. I talked myself back into the Raptors, mostly because I'm really excited to see Kawhi Leonard back on a basketball court. For all the crap that I've talked about him this year, and I've talked a lot of crap, and I'll continue to talk crap because his uncle's a crazy person, I love watching Kawhi Leonard play basketball. He's amazing. He's one of the best players I have ever watched. He's a fantastic basketball player, one of the 5 best players in basketball when he's healthy, and he'll probably end up being top 5 again once he plays a full healthy season. So they have a top 5 player in basketball. They already have a great defensive unit with OG Anunoby, Kyle Lowry, Jonas Valanciunas as well down low. CJ Miles, a nice player off the bench. They got Danny Green from the Spurs as well. Look, if you're the Raptors, taking a chance on Kawhi Leonard by the week has looked like a better and better option over keeping DeMar DeRozan, because you could make a realistic argument that they're a better team now than they were last year. You could really make that argument, not just because they got Kawhi, but also because they got Danny Green. They didn't need Jakob Poeltl. Jakob Poeltl, excuse me, I said his name wrong. They didn't need him. They have Pascal Siakam, they have Jonas Valanciunas, and Serge Ibaka. So really, they traded DeMar DeRozan to get Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is a vastly better player than DeMar DeRozan when healthy. They bring in Danny Green, a great veteran playoff experience who can help them get over the hump in the Eastern Conference playoffs. This Raptors team is better now than they were last year, and I can't believe I'm saying that. And that's coming from a guy who had the Raptors going to the finals last year, only for them to embarrass me on a national stage and get swept by LeBron James again. But the good news is that LeBron isn't in the East anymore, so the Raptors are in the clear, right? No, they're not, because they're not even the best team in the conference anymore, because the Boston Celtics are going to completely leap them. This is my 60-win team in the East this year. I have them going 61-21. I know that I've been talking about the Celtics a lot, including a couple of people calling me a homer for the Celtics. Look, if it takes me being a homer to convince you that the Celtics are going to be really good this year, you got to watch more basketball. Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, 2nd best starting 5 in the NBA, maybe the best bench in basketball, Terry Rozier, Marcus Smart, Marcus Morris, Robert Williams, and Aaron Baines. Aaron Baines could end up starting for the Celtics team, and Jason Tatum could be coming off the bench. Their second unit could be Terry Rozier, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Marcus Morris, and Robert Williams. That's good enough to start for any team in the NBA. That's better than half of the starting 5s in the Eastern Conference. That's their backups. This Celtics team is going to be one of the best Celtics regular season teams of all time. Not 86 Celtics level, obviously, but in terms of just pure on-court talent, they haven't had anything like this since the Big Three Celtics. And I'd actually make the argument, I think this roster is better than that 2008 Celtics team that won the title. I really do. I think this team has more talent on it, and they go deeper than that Celtics team did. That Celtics team was very top-heavy. Obviously, they had Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett. They also had Kendrick Perkins starting there at center. But this Celtics team literally has 2 full starting fives on it. They go 12 deep on this Celtics team. They're the only team in the NBA that can honestly say they go that deep. The Warriors don't even go that deep. They're absolutely loaded this year. So let me know in the comment section below. Can the Celtics beat the Warriors this year? Give me a C for hell yeah. Give me a Warrior for no effing way. Yeah. I think they can. I think they certainly can. I mean, there's just no reason why they shouldn't be able to with the roster that they have this year. I think the Warriors will end up beating them, but I certainly think that the Celtics have a chance to take down the Warriors. This is the best team that the Warriors will have gone up against so far, especially in the finals. So let's go through my Eastern Conference projected ratings before we say goodbye. The Magic, the Hawks, the Nets, the Knicks, and the Bulls bringing up the bottom 5 of the East. The Wizards, the Pistons, the Heat, the Hornets, and the Cavaliers going 6 through 10. And then we have the Celtics, the Raptors, the 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Indiana Pacers. But I want to know from you guys before we head out of here, who is going to win the Eastern Conference? If you don't say the Celtics, give me a reason why it's not going to be the Celtics this year. And don't say they might get injured again, because that is an absolute cop-out of an answer. So let me know in the comment section below who is going to win the Eastern Conference. One thing before we go, again, this is a very emotional day for the entire country. Today is 9/11, so our condolences to the family and friends of those who lost their lives on that fateful day back in 2001. Thank you for your service, the amazing firefighters and police officers who gave their life in New York City on that day. But we will see you guys next Tuesday for NBA Now.